Dear seekers of truth, before we embark on this profound journey of knowledge, allow me to pose a question that may challenge your perception of self. I have this body, and I declare it as myself. But if I were to lose an arm, would this body still be me? And if my organs were to be transplanted into another person's body, where would the I reside? When we delve deeper, we uncover that this body is composed of cells, molecules, and atoms. So, does the I truly exist in a tangible sense? Today, we shall delve into the concept of Anatta, or non-self, a cornerstone of Buddhist philosophy. This doctrine challenges the very notion of a permanent, unchanging self and invites us to reconsider our understanding of identity and existence. Anatta is one of the most profound and elusive teachings in Buddhism, often difficult to fully comprehend. Therefore, I urge you to maintain a calm and open mind as we navigate through these deep waters of thought. As we explore this concept together, we will examine how the idea of non-self can liberate us from the attachments and sufferings that arise from a misguided sense of self. We will see how understanding Anatta can transform our perception of reality and lead us to a more peaceful and fulfilled existence. This video promises to be a transformative experience, one that could fundamentally alter your worldview and guide you towards greater happiness and serenity. So, I invite you to join me on this journey. To question, to reflect, and to open your mind to new possibilities. Let us explore the depths of Anatta together, and in doing so, discover the path to true enlightenment and inner peace. The human life. I reflect upon the human condition from the dawn of our existence. From the very moment we emerge into this world, we embark on a journey marked by growth, maturation, aging, illness, and ultimately, the finality of death. Even as we approach our inevitable end, we are often convinced that there exists an unseen, formidable force that dictates our every thought and action. This enigmatic force is variably termed the soul by some, the self by others, or consciousness. However, we refer to it as the I. For we hold the conviction that within us resides a singular I, an unchanging essence that persists throughout the passage of time, an entity believed to be everlasting. In the realm of Buddhist philosophy, this notion of a permanent self is recognized as self-attachment. This self-attachment gives rise to self-love, which manifests as an intrinsic drive to care for and preserve this perceived eternal self. Our profound attachment to this I ensnares us in the relentless cycle of birth and death, a cycle that hinders us from attaining a life of nobility and virtue. Thus, in our fervent efforts to safeguard ourself, we inadvertently forfeit the higher pursuit of living in accordance with the principles of wisdom and ethical conduct. This attachment binds us, preventing us from transcending the mundane to embrace a life enriched by philosophical and spiritual depth. What is Anatta? My dear interlocutor, let us embark upon a philosophical journey to unravel the profound intricacies between the concepts of Anatta and impermanence. To embark on this elucidation, we must first disentangle the delicate threads that bind these two profound notions together. In the grand tapestry of existence, humans are ephemeral beings, bound to the inexorable wheel of change. Our physical and mental states are in a ceaseless flux, a dance of perpetual transformation. From the cradle to the grave, we traverse the stages of birth, aging, sickness, and ultimately, death. This undeniable reality, wherein we witness the ever-changing nature of our being, embodies the principle of impermanence. Yet, to truly grasp the essence of Anatta, we must ascend to a higher plane of understanding, peering through the lens of dependent origination. This perspective reveals a deeper truth about our nature. Humans, in this view, are not isolated entities but rather a composite of interdependent conditions. Our existence is woven from the intricate fabric of familial ties, societal bonds, and the continuous process of personal cultivation and maturation. The doctrine of Anatta, or non-self, posits that there is no enduring, independent self within us. Instead, we are an aggregate of transient elements, each arising and ceasing in dependence upon myriad factors. Our identity is not a fixed essence but a fluid convergence of experiences, relationships, and evolving consciousness. Thus, while impermanence reflects the transient nature of our existence, Anatta illuminates the absence of a permanent, unchanging self. To truly comprehend our being, we must embrace both these truths, recognizing that our existence is both fleeting and interwoven with the vast web of interconnectedness. In this realization lies a profound wisdom, guiding us towards a deeper understanding of the human condition and the essence of life itself. Buddha's Anatta doctrine, let us contemplate this revolutionary doctrine with the depth and nuance it deserves. The Buddha's second sermon at Deer Park, encapsulated in the Anattawakana Sutta, introduces us to the transformative concept of anatta, or non-self, within the 5 aggregates, skandhas, that constitute human existence. Consider, for instance, the physical body, which the Buddha elucidates as anatta. This notion asserts that the physical form and material substance do not possess an inherent self. Were the body endowed with a self, it would remain impervious to suffering, obedient to our every command, altering itself according to our wishes. Yet, the reality is starkly different. The body, devoid of a self, is subject to suffering and beyond our control. This principle extends to the other aggregates, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness. Each of these elements, in their entirety, contributes to the illusory construction of a self or an enduring being. This perceived self, persistent and unchanging, becomes the foundation upon which attachment and clinging are built. Individuals, ensnared by this delusion, develop a tenacious grip on the aggregates, mistakenly believing in their permanence and ownership. The recognition of anatta within the 5 aggregates dismantles the false perception of an autonomous self. It invites us to transcend the superficial understanding of our existence, urging a detachment from the transient and impermanent. By comprehending the essence of anatta, one can cultivate a state of liberation, free from the binding fetters of attachment and the incessant cycle of suffering. In this light, the Buddha's teaching on anatta is not merely a doctrinal statement but a profound invitation to a revolutionary shift in perception. It challenges the very core of our existential assumptions, guiding us towards a path of enlightenment where the cessation of suffering becomes attainable through the realization of the true nature of existence. The consequences of self-attachment. In the realm of human existence, the absence of deep reflection and mindful consideration towards the inherent nature of non-self frequently paves the way to suffering and sorrow. The concept of anatta, a distinctive tenet of Buddhist philosophy, elucidates the notion that there is no enduring, unchanging self. It posits that no core essence exists independently. All phenomena arise due to the principle of dependent origination, devoid of any intrinsic ability to create or annihilate themselves. In the Buddhist perspective, the self, the I, is an illusion, merely an aggregation of the 5 skandhas, form, sensation, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, that are in perpetual flux and ultimately perish. Anatta stands as one of the triad of existential marks, alongside dukkha, suffering, and anicca, impermanence. The birth of any entity is intrinsically tied to its eventual demise, underscoring the principle of impermanence. What is impermanent is inherently bound to suffering, and what suffers and undergoes change as dictated by dependent origination is devoid of self. Thus, the path to alleviating human anguish lies in the profound understanding and acceptance of these existential truths. Embracing the non-self nature of all things cultivates a wisdom that transcends ordinary perception, leading to a life unburdened by the illusion of permanence and the resultant suffering. This philosophical contemplation invites a deeper exploration of our existence, urging us to look beyond the transient and illusory constructs of selfhood, and to embrace the interconnected, ever-changing dance of life. The marks of existence in the 5 aggregates, the profound comprehension of the intrinsic essence of our mental and physical endeavors unveils the clear discernment of the 3 marks of existence, impermanence, suffering, and non-self, inherent within the 5 aggregates. These aggregates, form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness, serve as the foundation of our experiential reality. As long as the human mind is ensnared by the illusions of permanence and misguided beliefs, the truth of these 3 marks retains its pertinence and veracity within our worldly existence. The convergence of scientific inquiry and ancient wisdom further illuminates the verity of anatta, or non-self. Our brain, a marvel of nature, comprises billions of cells, each contributing to the symphony of consciousness without a single cell asserting dominion over the others. The emergence of a thought is not the decree of an isolated entity but the harmonious collaboration of countless neurons. Neuroscientists liken the human brain to an orchestra, where each musician plays their part autonomously, yet the music that emerges is a testament to their collective interplay, absent a central conductor. Thus, in this intricate dance of neurons, we glimpse the essence of Anatta, revealing that what we perceive as a singular self is but a fleeting manifestation of interconnected processes. It is in recognizing this that we begin to unravel the deeper layers of our existence, transcending the superficial confines of self-identity and touching upon the boundless nature of our being. The reason for practicing Anatta: we often labor under the assumption that the existence of a self is imperative to transcend the cycles of samsara and to ultimately attain the serene state of nirvana. This prompts an inquiry: in the absence of a self, who then traverses the turbulent waves of samsara, and who finds repose in nirvana? Who, devoid of a self, engages in the acts of seeing and hearing, in the earnest practice of spiritual disciplines, in the creation of karma, and in the reception of its consequent results? Who, if not a self, grasps the profound truths of the Dharma, the doctrine of Anatta, or non-self, frequently sows seeds of perplexity and misunderstanding. Whenever we articulate statements such as "I am speaking," "I am walking," "I am eating," or "I am watching this video," we are, in a manner, affirming the presence of a self. It is crucial for practitioners of Buddhism to recall that the Buddha did not admonish us to abstain from employing terms like "I" or "me." Even the enlightened one resorted to self-referential terms, such as Tathagata, to denote his presence. The Buddha's teachings on Anatta were not intended to obliterate the use of the self in conventional parlance but to illuminate the truth that the notion of an I, as a permanent, unchanging entity, is a delusion. He elucidated that the five aggregates, form, feelings, perceptions, mental formations, and consciousness, are transient phenomena and do not constitute a self. No enduring self can be discerned within these five aggregates. Thus, the essence of Anatta is a clarion call to relinquish the attachment to the illusory self and to comprehend the impermanent nature of all things. In doing so, we align ourselves more closely with the profound wisdom imparted by the Buddha, paving the way for genuine liberation from the cyclical existence of samsara. The Buddha's denial. In the annals of human thought, the concept of denial stands as a profound philosophical cornerstone. To deny, in this context, is to reject the entrenched belief in an autonomous and immutable self, often referred to as the I. This I is traditionally conceived as a permanent, unchanging, and unalterable essence. Yet, upon rigorous introspection and empirical observation, such an entity eludes discovery. It is a chimera, a mirage born of cognitive constructs. When the Buddha introduced the radical doctrine of Anatta, he did not merely present an alternative view, he shattered prevailing paradigms of the universe and the human condition. In doing so, he dealt a decisive blow to the deep-seated conviction of a permanent self, a notion that had long held sway over human consciousness. Anatta, in its essence, is a philosophical tool designed to dismantle the illusion of a substantive self. It is not intended to replace one dogma with another but to serve as a means of liberation from all dogmas. Those who grasp the profundity of Anatta comprehend that its purpose is to dissolve the very idea of self, not to propose a new ontological entity. It is a method, a skillful means, upaya, in the Buddha's vast arsenal of teachings, aimed at guiding practitioners towards enlightenment. However, if Anatta itself solidifies into a rigid concept, it must be transcended and dismantled, much like any other conceptual constructs. In the end, the wisdom of Anatta lies in its capacity to liberate. To free the mind from the fetters of all notions, allowing one to experience the boundless, ever-changing flow of existence. The three types of non-self. In the realm of profound contemplation, one is often led to ponder the intricate concept of non-self. This philosophical doctrine, rooted in the teachings of the Buddha, delineates the non-self of the body, the non-self of the mind, and the non-self of the surroundings. The non-self of the body. To grasp the essence of the physical non-self, we must first recognize the body as an ephemeral construct, an illusion lacking autonomous control. The body, with its transient nature, is in a perpetual state of flux, never static, always subject to the ravages of time. If the body were truly the self, it would defy the very nature of impermanence, remaining unaltered, immune to decay and the inevitability of death. However, the reality of our physical existence tells a different tale. Our bodies are vessels, constantly changing and never truly within our command, the non-self of the mind. Turning inward, we encounter the mental non-self, a concept that underscores the fleeting and insubstantial nature of thoughts and emotions. Our minds are akin to a turbulent river, where thoughts surge and recede with relentless dynamism. Emotions rise and fall, leaving no permanent imprint. The mind, like the body, is devoid of any enduring self. It is an ever-changing landscape. A reflection of the impermanence that defines our existence, the non-self of surroundings. Expanding our contemplation to the external world, we perceive the environmental non-self. The world around us, much like our bodies and minds, is but an illusion, a tapestry woven from the threads of change. It is devoid of any intrinsic self-control, subject to the whims of impermanence. Mountains erode, rivers shift course, and civilizations rise and fall. The environment is a testament to the ceaseless transformation that characterizes all phenomena. The Buddha's analysis. In his profound wisdom, the Buddha employed meticulous analysis to elucidate the concept of non-self. He revealed that the self, as we conventionally understand it, is a mirage. The body does not contain the self, for if it did, the self would be eternal and unchanging. Similarly, the self is not to be found within the mind, as the mind's ephemeral nature precludes any notion of permanence. The self is neither within the body nor the mind, for such a self would imply a separate, unchanging essence, an idea that stands in stark contrast to the reality of constant change. Thus, in the light of this philosophical inquiry, we are led to the profound realization that the self, as an autonomous, unchanging entity, is but an illusion. Our existence is a dance of impermanence, a continuous flow where the body, mind, and environment are inextricably linked, each reflecting the transient nature of the other. This understanding invites us to embrace the fluidity of life, to find liberation in the recognition of non-self, and to navigate the world with wisdom and compassion. The mind is not the self. In the ceaseless ebb and flow of existence, our minds mirror the incessant restlessness of a monkey, constantly leaping from one branch of thought to another. The transient nature of the mind, perpetually shifting and evolving, reveals a profound truth: the mind is not the self. For if the self were the mind, it would possess a permanence that the mind inherently lacks. This distinction between self and mind is pivotal. As the mind operates with an autonomy that often defies our deepest desires and intentions, to grasp the essence of anatta, or non-self, is to uncover a pathway to harmonious coexistence and inner tranquility. When we transcend the illusion of self-ownership over the mind, we align ourselves with a deeper understanding of our nature. The Buddha, in his infinite wisdom, illuminated the concept of anatta as a cornerstone of enlightenment. He taught that the erroneous belief in a self is tantamount to ignorance, one of the three principal defilements that cloud our true vision: greed, hatred, and delusion. Ignorance, the veil that obscures our comprehension, is dismantled when we embrace anatta. This enlightenment brings forth a liberation from the binding chains of egocentric desire and aversion, paving the way for a life imbued with peace and interconnectedness. The realization that the self is but an illusion dissolves the barriers that separate us from others, fostering a sense of unity and compassion. Thus, the journey towards enlightenment is a journey towards understanding the non-self. It is through this profound realization that we can transcend the delusions that entrap us, achieving a state of great awakening and boundless serenity. The Buddha's teachings on anatta guide us to dismantle the ignorance that perpetuates our suffering, inviting us to experience the world with clarity and wisdom. Recognizing non-self, the age-old conundrum of self and other, an existential musing that has perplexed the sagacious minds of many a philosopher. When we cast our gaze inward and conceive ourselves as distinct, singular entities, we unwittingly sow the seeds of separation, drawing an illusory boundary betwixt us and the world. This conceptual dichotomy births the dualities of self and other, subject and object, the perceiver and the perceived. in this mental choreography, the emergence of the self brings forth an inherent bias, a predisposition to cling to what pleases us and to repel what does not. This attachment and aversion are but the symptoms of a deeper malaise, the perilous belief in a substantive self. Herein lies the profound danger. The firm conviction in an enduring self perpetuates suffering, binding us to the ceaseless wheel of craving and aversion. Thus, the philosophical repudiation of the self is not merely an abstract exercise in intellectual detachment, it is the quintessential path to liberation. By dismantling the construct of a permanent self, we pave the way for the cessation of suffering and the purification of the mind. This dissolution of ego is the harbinger of profound enlightenment, an awakening to the interconnectedness of all existence. The key to transcending the fetters of worldly entanglements and attaining sublime wisdom lies in the relinquishment of the self. Embracing the boundless unity of being, practicing anatta, imagine, if you will, the profound endeavor of embracing the concept of anatta, the essence of non-self. In the realm of human existence, most individuals strive to release their attachment to the self, yet paradoxically, they entangle themselves more deeply in the very web they seek to escape. The practice of anatta within the Buddhist tradition is an intricate path, often misunderstood and seldom mastered, precisely because its true essence is elusive to the conventional mind. Consider this: if one's internal dialogue is perpetually centered around the notion, I must relinquish my attachment to the self, I must not cling to my identity, I must transcend my ego, what transpires is an ironic reinforcement of self-focus. This relentless preoccupation with the self, even under the guise of detachment, leads to a heightened sense of self-attachment. It is a reflection of the cosmic principle of attraction, which dictates that the more fervently we fixate upon an idea, the more we magnetize its presence within our consciousness. Thus, the ceaseless repetition of thoughts aimed at self-renunciation invariably draws us deeper into the quagmire of self-obsession. In essence, to truly practice anatta is to transcend the very act of striving. It is to enter a state of being where the self is neither clung to nor repudiated but simply recognized as an illusion, a transient construct within the vast expanse of reality. True liberation arises not from a forceful dismissal of the self but from a serene acceptance of its illusory nature, allowing it to dissolve naturally in the light of awakened understanding, mind, and the law of attraction. Imagine, if you will, the profound wisdom embedded in the ancient teachings of selflessness. Do not confine your thoughts merely to the I, but expand your consciousness towards the well-being of others. Engage in the pursuit of knowledge with the noble intention to serve your nation in the future. Aspire to seek education beyond the borders of your homeland, so that you may later return with the gifts of knowledge and experience. Ready to contribute to the progress of your country, in the course of your career, let your focus remain steadfast on alleviating the plight of the less fortunate. When your mind is directed towards the welfare of others in such a manner, you embody the essence of a selfless mind. By centering your thoughts on others, on humanity as a whole, and on your nation, you cultivate a state of selflessness, delve deeper into the wisdom of anatta, the doctrine of non-self, and recognize the intricate web of interdependence that binds all phenomena. In doing so, you will shed the erroneous belief that things exist independently or possess a separate self-essence. To put it another way, as individuals come to grasp the extensive network of interconnected existence that encompasses all beings and the environment we inhabit, they will develop a greater respect for others, for the laws that govern society, for the delicate balance of ecosystems, and for the critical roles that education, politics, and economics play in forging a harmonious world. Thus, the journey towards understanding and embracing the interconnectedness of all life is not merely an intellectual pursuit, but a path that nurtures empathy, respect, and a commitment to the common good. It is this profound realization that will ultimately guide us towards a more peaceful and compassionate world. The significance of anatta wisdom. Allow me to elucidate the profundity inherent in this intellectual heritage, which holds immense significance in liberating individuals from the gravest agonies and existential stresses of life, thereby ushering in a state of global tranquility. Should you find the concepts presented within this discourse challenging to grasp, I urge you to revisit the video, reflecting deeply upon the wisdom imparted. It is my sincere hope that you swiftly acquire the ability to relinquish your inner tribulations, ultimately attaining a state of genuine happiness and fulfillment. I extend my gratitude for your engagement with this material. This marks the conclusion of our current exploration. I look forward to our continued intellectual journey in subsequent discussions.